SKOL Vikings, let's win this game.
Vikings fan. I have seen a lot over all these years following this team, but what is happening right now feels different. There is a massive decision looming over the future of the offense. A key piece has come off the market and changed the entire outlook. A young player is being pushed up against the wall earlier than expected. There is a strange shift in leadership that has people raising their eyebrows, and now there is a new coaching hire that could reshape the team's identity. That last story, my friend, that one hits hard for anyone who lives and breathes Vikings football. Let's get into it. There are moments when a team has to take a deep breath and stop firing in the dark. This quarterback decision could swallow up 2 full seasons, and that brings us to what everyone is debating. What is Kevin O'Connell going to do with J.J. McCarthy? And what is the real plan for 2026? The conversation is simple. Instead of trading draft picks like they are on clearance, some people are saying hold on to them. Stockpile assets. Do what the Buffalo Bills did years ago after missing on E.J. Manuel and then using that lesson to build the right path forward. Matthew Collar from Purple Insider drew that comparison while speaking with former Bills general manager Doug Whaley. When Whaley talks about how Manuel flashed and then faded quickly, it sends a chill down your spine. McCarthy also lost early time to injury and has a small sample size that has already split the fan base. I am not saying they are the same player, but the warning sign is there. Whaley's point is direct. If this year's draft class is not loaded at quarterback and free agency does not offer security, you do not panic. You set the table. You gather picks. You preserve cap space. Then when the right class comes along, you strike aggressively and without desperation. When there is only one so-called savior in a class, you overpay and lock yourself in. Here is what makes it heavier in Minnesota. Without an official general manager until after the draft, Kevin O'Connell and Rob Brzezinski are the ones making the call. That is pressure. If they burn second-day draft capital on a gamble, they may not have enough ammunition to move up in a stronger class down the road. And the talk about the 2027 class gaining steam, with names like Arch Manning and Dante Moore, is real. At the same time, this roster is not in rebuild mode. You have Justin Jefferson. You have a defense that fights every Sunday. And O'Connell does not want to live on long-term promises. He needs wins now. That is why many see a veteran bridge as the smarter move. Someone who can compete and steady the locker room without costing a truckload of picks. Kyler Murray if he were released. Geno Smith at the right price. Derek Carr for a modest return. Even Aaron Rodgers on a short-term deal. There is also the idea of trading back in this year's draft to collect 2027 capital. Or even moving a young piece like Jordan Addison to build long-term flexibility. That splits the fan base instantly. I get both sides. But if the organization believes it may need a new franchise quarterback soon, you want bullets in the chamber. You are not getting this kind of unfiltered breakdown anywhere else. So tell me in the comments, would you stack picks and line up a strike in 2027? Or would you go all in right now for 2026? Because the next story hits the heart of the running game plan. But first, a quick ask from one fan to another. Subscribe to the channel. It is free and it goes a long way in strengthening this community and making sure you catch the next videos. Let's keep rolling. Out of nowhere, the running back board shifted and removed a name many viewed as a safe option. I was not betting on him becoming a Viking, but he absolutely fit the conversation. And now, he is off the table. Javonte Williams re-signed with the Dallas Cowboys. He had a strong 2025 season. He rebuilt his narrative. He produced at a high level. That made him the kind of player who, if available at the right number, could interest Minnesota. But Dallas stepped up with a 3-year deal, guaranteed money, a signing bonus, the whole package. Just like that, one fewer name on the board. The immediate reaction from fans in purple and gold is simple. Okay, now what? When you look at the backfield, there is already serious money committed. Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason together carry a heavy cap number for 2026. If the team releases Jones, it frees some space but still leaves dead money behind. It is not a clean reset. That is why the Vikings may hesitate to spend more than $10 million per year on another running back. At the same time, nobody wants a fragile plan. Mason is efficient, but he is not a proven 3-down workhorse. Jones, when healthy, does a lot of the dirty work, especially in pass protection. That matters on a team still figuring out whether J.J. McCarthy is the guy or whether a veteran will step in. A blown block can kill a drive and get your quarterback drilled. With Javonte Williams gone, the remaining names spark debate. Travis Etienne flashes and disappears but blocks well, which O'Connell values. J.K. Dobbins has talent but a long injury history that makes fans uneasy. Rico Dowdle is solid but not intimidating. If you start dreaming big, you look at Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker III, but that is premium money. money that might need to be reserved for quarterback, the offensive line, or keeping the defense intact. And here is what often gets overlooked in the heat of free agency: the draft. The 2026 class features intriguing runners. You can find explosiveness on a rookie deal. That aligns with the earlier strategy of not burning long-term assets right now. You keep flexibility. You pick your moment. I know, waiting for the draft is not exciting when you want answers today, but free agency gets wild fast. If Minnesota jumps in without room to maneuver, it could overpay and regret it. And that brings us to the next twist. Because when you combine roster uncertainty with a shift in leadership communication, every move feels amplified. That is exactly the strange tension building right now. There is a certain noise that rises when a team reaches a crossroads. You hear it everywhere. Sports radio, social media, group chats. And right now that noise has a clear target: J.J. McCarthy. ESPN recently floated the idea of a fresh start. In plain terms, moving him to another team. It sounds wild. A first-round quarterback with only 10 starts and legitimate upside. But when a major outlet throws that out, it taps into real uncertainty. The argument is that last season was so turbulent that maybe McCarthy would benefit from stepping out of Sam Darnold's shadow. Yes, Sam Darnold, a Super Bowl winner. That changes locker room dynamics and fan patience. If Kevin O'Connell truly is entering a win-now season to protect his job security, he may prioritize immediate results over long-term development. That is the pressure. There is talk that he needs a playoff return to solidify his standing. When a head coach feels that heat, every quarterback throw becomes a public verdict. Purple Faithful feels it. Then Yahoo! Sports senior reporter Charles Robinson added fuel by listing young players who could draw trade calls. Among wide receivers and another quarterback, there was McCarthy's name. One phone call can become a real offer. A real offer becomes a franchise-level decision. Think it through. If Minnesota signs a veteran like Aaron Rodgers for 1 year, you can still keep McCarthy as the long-term project. He learns. He grows. No rush. But if the conversation shifts toward trading for a younger, established quarterback like Kyler Murray, the dynamic changes. You do not pay a premium for a prime player just to stash him. In that scenario, McCarthy becomes trade capital, and the fan base splits hard. I will be straightforward. My first instinct is, do not overreact. Young quarterbacks are not disposable. McCarthy is 23 years old. He is still adjusting to the true speed of the NFL. If you trade him now, you are betting that he will not develop. That is a massive gamble. One that defines front offices. O'Connell sits in the center of that storm. If he rides with McCarthy and it fails, he goes down with it. If he moves on and McCarthy becomes a star elsewhere, that is a scar that lasts. So I want to hear from you. Would you trade McCarthy today for draft capital, or would you stand firm for at least one more season? Because the next development reveals something unusual about how this team is handling the spotlight, and that often signals what is brewing behind the scenes. Not everything that shakes a team happens on the field. This time the focus is on Kevin O'Connell and Rob Brzezinski. During Combine Week, it is standard practice for the head coach and general manager to step to the podium in Indianapolis and answer questions. That is the league routine. But this year is different. The Vikings will not have a representative at the main podium. Not O'Connell. Not Brzezinski. They will speak with local media in separate sessions, but not in the national spotlight where every franchise takes questions. It sounds minor. It is not. This shift follows the departure of Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. Since he was dismissed, authority has been shared. The Wilf ownership group at the top. Brzezinski as interim. O'Connell with added influence. Brian Flores in the mix. There is no singular general manager voice right now. That may explain the more controlled communication strategy. I will say this clearly. It raises eyebrows. Not because the team owes the media anything, but because when you change protocol in the middle of high-stakes decisions, fans connect the dots. The quarterback question looms over everything. Every combine question would have circled back to J.J. McCarthy, potential veterans, trades, and draft plans. Perhaps the Vikings chose to limit the national stage until answers are clearer. Some fans have called it weak on social media. I think that is extreme, but I understand the reaction. Minnesota has traditionally participated in that podium routine. Stepping aside feels like a retreat, even if other teams like the Los Angeles Rams and Jacksonville Jaguars have adopted similar approaches. The reasoning is practical. Workouts are recorded, reports are distributed. Executives do not need to be physically present to evaluate prospects. Still, the Vikings are not coming off a recent Super Bowl. They are trying to establish direction. Every signal gets magnified. The timing matters too. The draft is less than 2 months away. Minnesota holds the 18th pick. Cornerback, defensive line, or a surprise selection could be in play. Yet instead of prospects, the conversation has shifted to messaging. That creates distraction. My sense is the organization wants to control the narrative, speak to familiar voices, avoid premature commitments on Aaron Rodgers, McCarthy trade scenarios, or draft capital strategy. Controlling the message is normal, but in sensitive moments, silence can sound louder than words. And in the middle of that tension, another development quietly surfaced, a coaching addition that could influence how this offense operates. That is where things get truly interesting. While most of the spotlight has been on quarterbacks, draft capital, and combine drama, a quieter move may carry real weight. The Vikings hired Kyle Kasky as an offensive assistant. Not a headline-grabbing name, but pay attention. Kasky was set to become offensive coordinator for the Orlando Storm in the United Football League. He previously coached running backs and special teams with the St. Louis Battlehawks. He has called plays. He has structured offensive plans. He has been responsible for position development. In Minnesota, the title is broad. Offensive assistant can mean many things: support in designing the run game, player development, additional collaboration with Wes Phillips. But his background shows a consistent theme: understanding the ground attack. Kevin O'Connell's offense has leaned heavily on the pass, spacing, quick reads, tempo. When it clicks, it looks sharp. When it stalls, third and long becomes a recurring nightmare. We have seen it more than once. I will be straightforward. I miss a Vikings identity built on a reliable rushing presence, not just running for the sake of it, but using it to control the clock, protect the quarterback, and give Brian Flores' defense more rest. Winning time of possession changes games. Kyle Kasky may not take over the room, but he can influence details, blocking adjustments, situational packages, creative motion with Jordan Addison, helping J.J. McCarthy incorporate controlled bootlegs. Small refinements can swing November games. There is also the motivational factor. Coaches arriving from alternative leagues often bring hunger, a drive to prove they belong. That energy can spread through meetings and practice fields. Brian Flores remains on defense. Wes Phillips continues guiding the offense. Matt Daniels leads special teams. The core is intact, but every new voice affects the system. If the Vikings want to compete in 2026 without sacrificing the future, efficiency has to improve now, especially on the ground. I am not calling Kasky a savior, but I have seen coaching tweaks reshape seasons. When you combine this hire with quarterback uncertainty, draft strategy, and front office tension, you see a franchise quietly redefining itself. That is no longer just a headline. That is direction in the making. Take a step back and look at the full picture. The debate over J.J. McCarthy's future, the strategy of stacking draft picks for upcoming classes, a shrinking running back market, leadership adjusting how it addresses the media, and Kyle Kasky arriving to fine-tune the offense. This is not a routine off-season. This is a crossroads. The Vikings are trying to compete without mortgaging tomorrow. They are trying to protect their quarterback without projecting doubt. They are managing the narrative while fans in purple and gold demand clarity and wins. I have watched this franchise long enough to know that the right decision can shape an era. The wrong one leaves scars. Drop your thoughts in the comments. This space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes Vikings football. Do you see smart, long-term construction or a risky gamble that could backfire? Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings. Let's go.